We're going to do a similar thing that we did a couple of weeks ago for our vampire episode, and we'll give our top 3 video game to series or TV or film adaptations, and we'll do some honourable mentions, maybe some dishonourable mentions, and we'll also do a little, some games that we would love to see get adapted and we think could do really well. Tommy, do you want to start us off?
I have a list here because I had to go and look up, because sometimes you forget. We are old men now, and sometimes you forget the little gems and horrible things that movies have done to our favorite video games. But there's a few that I wanted to mention just because they're interesting. We're not going to talk about the old Super Mario Bros. Movie, I guess. That's no one's favorite. But, that's an interesting relic from a certain era of
I've
adaptation.
never seen it.
And I've never seen it either, but like the few clips that I've seen of that movie, just, I do not want to, but also I'm happy that it exists. That makes sense. Another one that is weird, very weird, is the Final Fantasy movie, The Spirit Within. Have you ever seen that?
Never seen it. Didn't even know there was one.
I mean, it's a CGI movie, but it's like a CGI movie from the early 2000s. It's probably even just 1999 or something like that. So you can imagine how badly the CGI has, aged in the past few years. And it's such a weird movie because I remember kind of like recording it on my TV when it was like on some weird channel. I don't even know how I knew about it, and watching it and being so puzzled because it had nothing to do with Final Fantasy. I know that Final Fantasy has different stories and different words for each entry in the franchise, but like this one was like this futuristic, basically Earth in the future, and there was this race of aliens who were like sucking emotions and killing people, and like the Earth was like this wasteland, and these ladies trying to bring back life to it, and the story was so convoluted and confusing. But as a like 13-year-old watching this on his laptop, it was a very intriguing experience. It was just like, weird looking characters trying to be very photorealistic in a time where the technology was not there yet.
That perfectly it goes on to a lot of the relationships I have with video game adaptations too.
Yeah.
A lot of my favorites, or the ones I like, come from personal nostalgia rather than acknowledging that the content or the story is actually good, because a lot of the time I enjoy these things, and like some of these ones I'm going to mention, but I accept that they're terrible movies or not very good, but they have this nostalgic value to them that's very enjoyable.
Absolutely, and I think that's a completely valid reason to like something. I like Space Jam, and I like the first Pokemon movie, but I understand that they are awful for anyone who hasn't grown up with them. I wanted to mention that what you just described is the reason why I enjoyed 2/3 of Detective Pikachu. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't.
But like Detective Pikachu is a very weird little movie where Ryan Reynolds voices a Pikachu who is investigating a case with Justice. What's his face? He was in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. It was Justice Smith. That's his name.
Yeah.
It's like he plays the nerd in a bunch of stuff, and he plays the nerd here. And they go around the Pokemon world, and there's like there's underground battles with like Charizards and Gyarados, and they walk around, and there's like fucking PGs on flying around, and it's just being in that world and seeing these realistic renders of the Pokemon, the original mostly Pokemon. It was just a fun experience. I thought the sequences were really well made. The movie loses completely. It completely loses the plot in the third act because Bill Nighy, who plays this I'm spoiling this because you're never gonna see it, and there's nothing to spoil. But like Bill Nighy plays this rich guy who develops new technology, and he's giving these interviews where he's like, "Oh, I want to save the world. I want to do this and I want to do that," and then he implants his mind into a clone of Mew. So Mewtwo, of course. So Mewtwo, that's the reason why Mewtwo can speak, because he has the mind of a person inside of him. And
Bill Nye plays Mewtwo
yeah,
in Detective Pikachu. This sounds
and that's
fucking mental.
and that's why it's amazing, and yeah, the ending is so strange. Like they fight in the city and there's all these floating balloons of Pokemon around, and then you realize, oh, actually the reason why this Pikachu can talk is because he went through the same procedure as Bill Nye, but he didn't know, he forgot about it. So like, and Ryan Reynolds is revealed to be the real person that Pikachu's conscience was transferred into. So it's a lot,
So
and that I think
the origin story of Pikachu is that he was just Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, like every
Wow.
good story should go. So
Well, so I've got a few honourable mentions that I'll go through as well. When I was wrapping my head round all the best video game adaptations I've seen, just how few good ones there are. It's literally like 5 or 6, and
the best ones are all recent.
yeah,
If you take away the nostalgia element, which
yeah, for
we'll
sure.
come
And
into.
it's crazy how little success films have had translating video game series, because there's so many video game series are just movies in themselves that could just be easily translated over, but somebody has not quite tapped this market yet somehow.
Yeah.
And
Well, they're going to after Minecraft.
oh my
I'm
god,
sure
yeah,
we'll see every single franchise.
it does feel like
turned
we
into a
are
movie.
about to enter the era of video game adaptations being the big thing that Hollywood does. So one that I had quite high hopes for and was intrigued as I was watching it was the Fallout series on Amazon.
Oh yeah,
A good adaptation in terms of visuals, all the superficial elements. I think it
the
looks,
word.
yeah, the world looks great. The production design's awesome. The characters are cool. Walton Goggins is really good as the ghoul in it.
Yeah, he is great.
He's really good, but the show goes nowhere story wise. I didn't like the tone of it in the end. So many plot holes all over the place. The characters'
Yeah,
motivations don't really make sense. And so I thought this was so disappointing, honestly, Fallout. I thought this was going to be really, really good and quite this had potential to be the best video game adaptation, but
a lot of people really, really loved it, and I think there's a lot of room for improvement in season 2, which I think just wrapped production.
it
So
did,
we'll see
yeah.
it soon. But I enjoyed it enough. The experience of watching it week by week was entertaining. As you said, Walton Goggins, great as this cowboy ghoul, great scenes with him. I liked Ella Purnell. I hated it. I hated Maximus.
Oh, one of the
I
worst
thought that was
characters written in anything.
is the worst. I mean, he made me chuckle a couple of times, and that's it. Like when he wanted to have sex with her, and
Oh,
he was like in that colony underground.
that was the stupidest scene. He's like,
Yeah, it was so
oh, what
stupid.
does my penis do? It's like,
It explodes.
yeah, what
Do
do
you
you
want me to
mean?
make my penis explode?
It's like sometimes he was a baby, like literally had the mind of a baby, and then other
Yeah,
times he's like this hardened like soldier. It's
yeah.
similar with a lot of stuff like
That
what I was saying with Last of Us, just the tonally so inconsistent.
the whole storyline with him was, I think, the worst aspect of the show because the ghoul was fun, Ella was fun.
They show the flashback of Maximus as a kid coming out of a fridge like 10 times. It's like, oh yeah, we get it. We get it. It's so cool. He survived a nuclear explosion in a fridge, just like Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Uh, looking back, I agree, it was not that special, but I am engaged enough in the world that I'll keep watching, hoping that the next season is better from a story perspective.
Yeah, there's so much potential, and I think the thing all the Walton Goggins scenes were keeping me tuned in, and also I started to really enjoy the little mystery that was happening with the main character's little brother back at the
Yeah,
vault.
in the main vault. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
like he was discovering what was happening in the vault next door, and then when we reveal, we finally get, it's a classic. What do you call that? It's mystery box
Yeah.
storytelling. And he opens the door in the last episode, and we finally get a big reveal of the mystery we've been leading up to the whole thing, and it's just a silly comedic moment of this silly robot who's controlling the next vault, and it's like such a disappointment that was, considering how
Well,
if you played any of the Fallout games, there's so many interesting lore around the vaults and so many interesting little stories that happen inside the vaults. For that to be the big end of season one, really
was that
disappointing.
just it? I think the funny little robot had a few revelations of its own, like they explained why the vault, how it works, like
Yeah, they basically said
what's
they're like
happening.
a management vault, and they're being
Yeah.
bred to be managers, which I still think was disappointing, to be honest.
I mean, the reason that the fact that I do not remember says it all about
Yeah,
the big reveal.
yeah,
But yeah.
exactly. But definitely potential with the show, and hopefully they've got some new creative voices in there for season two, and and the story and characters can match how the show looks and how well it gets the game's vibe across, because I think it could become one of the better ones if it does nail some of those things down.
Have you seen the Borderlands movie?
Oh my god, no. That looked like the trailer for that looked like the worst thing ever. I've never
It
really
is.
played the Borderlands games either, so I'm
Me
not
neither.
not
And I
invested in the
went to
world.
see it. I went to see it. A
So
friend of mine was like, can you come with me? I want to watch
it's
this."
your fucking money that's keeping these films being made, is it? I think we've come to realize.
Yeah. It's just Tommy and this other guy. I went to see it, and it's the worst thing. It's literally the worst thing. It's like the most bare, like formulaic. Let's try to do Guardians of the Galaxy, but with none of the charm,
That's
none of
exactly
the
what it
witty
looked like. Yeah.
dialogue, none of the interesting world building. It just makes no sense from start to finish.
And it's got fucking
Everyone is
Kate Blanchett and Kevin Hart and all
everyone
these
is
people.
miscast. It's so badly put together. Like I will give you like one example, because it's the first scene of the movie, and already I was like, what are you even doing? Um, so Kevin Hart plays this rough around the edges kind of like soldier guy, and is apparently is based on a character from the game, and it has
Terrible,
nothing.
already on the surface. Terrible casting for Kevin Hart.
Terrible casting based on how the character from the game looks and behaves, because Kevin Hart always plays a certain specific type of character, and it's fine when he plays that specific type of character, but it doesn't have range, so you can't have him be like a badass dude who shoots everyone. But they want to make a gag when because at the beginning, I think he's rescuing this girl, right? And he comes into this room and he rescues her. He kills some guys, and then they run away. But like, she doesn't know him, and she looks at him and is like, "Oh, is that all? Like, are you all there?" Like, making fun of his height. But Kevin Hart is shot from chest up, like, so there's no reference of how tall he is in the scene where they're making fun of his height.
Oh my god.
Like, we are supposed to know that Kevin Hart is short because we know Kevin Hart in real life is short, but the show, the film, sorry, it hasn't shown us that he's short yet. And the framing of the scene does not match with the joke that you're trying to tell. So like, that tells you everything you need to know. Like,
Yeah.
not even the funny stuff manages to be funny because it's framed or told in a very bad way. It's just nothing movie that I forgot, except these few moments that irritated me. I forgot it as soon as I left the theater.
And they spent a hell of a lot of money on it as well. I know it had a massive budget. This
It's
Borderlands
offensive.
film.
It's offensive that people spend money like that. Just buy drugs instead. That's
You bought the goddamn cinema ticket.
instead of buying drugs. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, crazy. I had no interest in watching it. I knew it was going to be a fucking shocker, that one. This is a classic theme as well. I bet the person who made the Borderlands film has never once played the game. I'm just guessing off the top of my head because this tends to be how these things go. I know the person.
You don't have to be a fan to be a competent director of something.
Not at all. But I think it's good to have an understanding of the source material because the main bulk of the people who are going to go are probably going to be fans of the thing already. And I think it's a problem if you're not. And I bet Minecraft isn't a great movie, but it gets those little moments and those references right clearly because people are fucking going crazy for it in the cinema.
They're trying to replicate a TikTok meme, so I don't know how much of that excitement is genuine, but
yeah. You know what I mean.
Some of it is,
but I mean,
some of
it was still doing very good at the box office too. So people are going to see it. I suppose it's a dishonourable mention. This one, did you watch?
I mean, most of them are, I guess.
Did you watch Secret Level on Amazon Prime?
I did. I watched all of it.
I watched all of it too. It was so disappointing.
I mean, I save maybe a couple shorts, but generally I just find them so just forgettable. I don't know
so
why.
Forgettable. They're mostly just like little teaser trailers, even though some of them are 15, 20 minutes long. They just feel
tech demos.
Yeah, tech demos. And there's a couple good ones. The Warhammer one was pretty cool.
That one was that made me want to play the games, and I've never played any of the Warhammer games.
Yeah, it got me like, I'm interested in the Warhammer lore. Apparently, the Warhammer lore is really deep and rich.
The Pac-Man one was kind of cool too.
I don't think I actually watched the Pac-Man one. It was like set in future. It was like futuristic, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, like you don't really you don't really get that it's Pac-Man. Or maybe you do because the title spoils it. But like you would never guess it's Pac-Man until this little yellow ball shows up, and it's kind of like it works like a little companion robot for this alien character who needs to get out of this facility, and then you realize what the purpose of this is and how it works, and it's kind of fun, and it's basically teasing this game that either has just come out recently or is gonna come out. There is a reinvention of Pac-Man in a dark, kind of like Metroidvania, roguelike kind of scenario. So yeah, it's just an advertisement.
That's what the world
like
needs.
Most things.
Subversive Pac-Man.
They're subverting everything.
That's what we're missing. I'm just going through the episode list here, and I'm sure some of this is down to licensing fees that Amazon, they couldn't get all the best games, to make episodes about, but it also touches on what we're talking about, misleading trailers. The very last episode of Secret Level is basically like a trailer for PlayStation games, and it just shows you all these little different characters, like major characters like Kratos and a few others, Nathan Drake, and we see that, and that one literally is just a teaser trailer for PlayStation iconic characters, and
it's in the trailer,
and we see that in the main trailer. So everyone thought, "Oh, we're going to get a really sick little God of War episode in this," but that never comes. Instead, we get Honor of Kings, that game everybody loves.
Is that the one with Schwarzenegger in it?
No, this is the one where they're playing chess against each other.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And
because that one I really liked.
Oh, I'm with you. That one, we'll get to that. But Honor of Kings, and I'm going through the list of the games, and none of these games are big, well-known, loved games with great worlds. We have Honor of Kings, which actually had a cool, one of the cooler short stories. It was like a guy playing chess against some artificial intelligence, and he had to be it. It was interesting, had some good visuals. And then we have Concord, the failed Amazon game, which never.
Or they made a short
which
for a game that nobody played.
which I think
Oh, it's
lasted
so
like a week.
embarrassing.
Yeah, what are they doing?
They had like 1,000 concurrent players. Like that's the whole time high. Like it was so bad or something.
And like, why are you? Maybe this has been something in development for a long time. These animated shorts,
Of
and
course,
so
of
they
course.
had that already, and they're like, "Fuck it, let's just keep beating that Concord dead horse." And then we get Spelunky, Exodus, Mega Man, The Outer Worlds, Armored Core, Crossfire, Pac-Man. We obviously get
Have I seen all of these?
Warhammer.
Oh my god, I thought I did.
There was 2 parts to the series. The second part was
Okay.
terrible. Not a
Maybe
single
I
good
haven't seen the
episode.
second part then.
We get Unreal Tournament, we get New World, and we get Sifu. And we get Dungeons.
Sifu one was fine.
The Sifu one was good. It was so short. The Sifu one, I think it was like 7 minutes or something. And it just like, well, I don't know why they chose these games in particular to make stories of. Like when this show was announced, I was like, this could be something truly amazing. An anthology series very similar to Love, Death, Robots, but just based on cool video game worlds. It really did not hit. Like we said, I think the best one was either the Warhammer 40k, Sifu, or I think it was New World, the Once and Future King, which is a game I've never heard of, but that was the one with Schwarzenegger.
Me neither.
Schwarzenegger washing up on a beach, and this story was great. Like, it was so
well
made.
That was super fun. With him, kind of like, and this servant guy, and he's so enamored with himself, and he thinks he's going to be the king of this new island, but no one cares. And he has this little growth as well. Like, I don't know, it felt like that was the most well realized story
100%
that they had.
It was
even though I do not care for the game at all.
No, I don't think anybody
I
don't think anybody knows this game. I think it might be even I know one of them is based off just like a mobile game that's just like a pure casino, like money casino type thing. But yeah, this was the best, like you said, in terms of an actual realized story. It has an arc, it's got a beginning, middle, and end, and it's not just a teaser trailer for the vibe of the game like a lot of them are. It's I feel like there was a lot of wasted potential here, and I think when Love, Death, and Robots is deep into season 4 or season 5 maybe now, and they're very hit and miss, I'd say. But when they hit in the past, they have been epic. Like some of the little animated shorts they've made have been fantastic, really great stuff, and I just was hoping we would get something on that level, but unfortunately we didn't.
We'll get it in the future. Better luck next time.
My sort of final honourable mention is Doom. Have you ever seen Doom?
Oh, I've never seen Doom. Would you recommend it?
I actually would. It's a really fun movie. It's campy, it's silly, it's classic, like early 2000s, late 90s action movie. And there's a couple actually genuinely good sequence in it with like some good practical effects. It basically, it turns Doom into more like a Resident Evil type scenario. And they're not necessarily
Dwayne Johnson before it was Dwayne Johnson.
Oh yeah, and Carl Urban's in it, and Rosamund Pike. All-star cast.
I'm in. Oh my god, this looks amazing. Okay,
and fucking
I'm sold.
The Rock. So The Rock actually plays, very rarely plays a bad guy. He's a real bad guy in this film, which was quite nice to see. Because he plays it quite well. And there was one really good sequence in it where it's similar in the games. You take sort of like an adrenaline shot, and it kind of like laser focuses you and slows down time. But our main Carl Urban does it in the movie, and the camera moves into first person perspective, and it's like turns into like a video game for maybe like a 5-minute action sequence, and that was really cool.
That classic moment that they had in every early 2000 game movie where they try to mimic for a second the style of the game itself, and then
it was cool. It was cool. There are some genuinely.
It does look cool. Honestly, it's one of those movies that escaped me, but I guess it's like kind of like an aliens inspired schlock sci-fi horror thing.
Totally,
So,
you bang on, the money there. You know exactly what this is, and
and I'm gonna
you'll
love it.
enjoy it.
I'm gonna eat it up.
There's
So I'm
just
gonna do
like,
it.
and also watching it back when you're older, retrospectively, there's some scenes in it which are supposed to be serious that are fucking hilarious. Like it's so ridiculous and over the top that it keeps the entertainment value very high on this one. And it's a film I've gone back and I have rewatched many times, and always found enjoyment in watching Doom. So maybe before we go on to our top three, do you want to
Uh-huh.
give us one or two or a few video games that you would love to see adapted, or you think that could do a really good adaptation on film or TV?
So I have two. One is a movie that I think would really work, and one is a movie that they've announced that I'm really worried about.
Okay,
Um,
interesting.
so the first one is a game that I think would make for a fantastic movie. Is Control. Have you ever played Control?
Never played it, but I know the premise, I know the story. I always did want to play it, but it just escaped me.
I think you would fucking love Control, man.
Yeah.
And Control 2 is coming out, I think, next year. So, perfect time to go back and play
Okay.
this.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
So, it's an action adventure game developed by Remedy Entertainment, the makers of Max Payne, Alan Wake, Quantum Break. They are great. They are so much like they have a great vibe. Their games, they're interconnected, and the story of Control uh, revolves around this amazing concept of the Federal Bureau of Control (FBC), and which is like a secret U.S. government agency that is tasked with containing and studying paranormal phenomena, stuff that violates the laws of reality and the laws of physics. So basically you go into this building at the beginning of the game. You are this lady called Jessie, and you're looking for your brother, and this your brother went missing when you were a girl. And you investigated for years and years and years, and you think that the disappearance of your brother is connected to this FBC, this bureau, and these objects of power that they collect and study within this facility in New York. So you enter the facility, and you basically, for reasons that I won't go into, you become the new director of the bureau, and you have to explore it, and all every area, because this, like, it's all paranormal, so all the bureaus sections are all different from each other, and some are more distorted than others, and there's places where they keep these objects of powers, which are objects where there's like paranormal energy coming out. So maybe it's even like very silly stuff, like it's at some point there's like a secondary thing that you can do where there's this guy basically who is charged to keep watch over this rubber duck, and this rubber duck, basically, if you stop looking at it, it's gonna do horrible things to you. And so he has to stay vigilant and look at this rubber duck until someone comes there and replaces him. But since when you get to the bureau, there's this like the emergency, no one is coming, so he's like losing control, and he can't fucking look at this rubber duck anymore, and you have to save him. And it's like, and there's so many weird things, and I think a movie or a TV show just like set in this environment, and kind of like you have to investigate paranormal stuff, and develop these abilities and defeat, because then there's these enemies who are like humans who have been infected with this thing known as the hiss, and they are corrupted, and they can bend the laws of physics as well, so they like move super fast, or they fly, and you have to shoot them with this gun who also has powers. So like it's a really fun and engaging world that they've built, and it's referenced in other games from Remedy too. I think Alan Wake, which I haven't played yet, the second one, also is connected to the Control world.
Yeah, I've heard that.
it's just phenomenal in my opinion. The combat, maybe it's not the best, but like the world building and the story and just the vibe of the place is really really interesting. So yeah, I think it would make for a great movie. Okay, so this is gonna be brief, but I know they're making a Zelda movie.
Okay.
They've announced a Zelda movie, and I am a pretty big fan of Zelda. I haven't played too many of them, but like I've played enough, and I love Zelda, and I think it's a great word and story, classic hero adventure in a fantasy world, and it's so well done and so whimsical and fun, and they're doing it live action, and to me that makes no fucking sense. I am like, why would you, after the success of the Mario movie, why would you go live action with Zelda? It should be animated. And not only that, i I mean, in a perfect world, where I am in charge of everything, um, it would be a modern Miyazaki inspired kind of like 2D 3D hybrid animation, kind of like Spider Verse, but with a Studio Ghibli coat of paint. And that would be so amazing. Like it would be like, I think everyone would want to watch that. Even people who are not familiar with Zelda would want to watch that. But no, they're gonna fucking do a live action with womb, like fucking Tom Holland with like pointy ears, and
There you go. You've done it. Zendaya and Zendaya.
Zendaya as Zelda, or they're gonna swap them, because you can't have a princess being saved, so it's gonna be fucking Anya Taylor Joy as Link, and Zelda is gonna be played by The Rock. I
Oh,
don't
you've
know.
you've done it for them. You've cast it for them. Damn it.
It's like Nintendo is watching this video. It's like, write that down. Write that down.
An animated adaptation is the way to go, but film industries are always worried about pumping big budget into animated films for not specifically aimed at kids, because it's a smaller niche market. And clearly they were too scared to do Minecraft all animated, so they had real people in the Minecraft world, so you could still sell it as a live action movie to a degree. Yeah, they're just always too scared to do that, and I think you know they don't tend to perform excellently at the box office. Animated films for more mature audiences.
I mean, but this would be a movie, an animated movie for everyone, because Zelda is very, for all ages.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Don't get. I think they should absolutely. That's the direction they should do it in for sure. And there's enough examples of where they like Into the Spider Verse was a great success. It can be done if it's good, and
yeah, but
people
it
will
made a
eventually.
fraction of No Way Home. So I guess
Did the
they're
first Spider Verse
thinking
not
about.
film not do really well?
No, it did very well for an animated movie,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it
yeah.
didn't make $1 billion.
No,
So I guess
it's
they're
always
thinking.
different.
We'll see. I am really worried that they're gonna botch it. But
Do you know who's doing it?
I think it's Wes Ball, who's attached right now, and I kind of like him because he did the most recent Planet of the Apes movie, not the Matt Reeves trilogy. Well, even though he directed the second and third, the new one that came out last year was directed by this Wes Bull guy, and before that he did, and I like these movies. I did the Maze Runner series. Um, they're based on novels, like classic young adult novels, like one of those post Hunger Games kind of like trilogies of movies. They have like Dylan O'Brien in them. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those.
No, no, I don't know those ones.
But yeah, he like they're decent little action flicks, but like Dylan O'Brien is really good in them, and I think he has a very good sense of pacing and rhythm. It infuses his movies with a lot of, but I don't know if it's the right pick for a Zelda film. I think a Zelda film should feel grand and kind of like, I don't know. It's very hard to picture a CGI live action hybrid, kind of like Zelda thing. Maybe they'll nail it. I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
we shall see. um,
I will be first in line, at the box office, just paying my ticket like the useless drone I am.
be like, how much money? 200 £200. Like, all right,
I
fuck
guess it's really good then. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, something that I would like to see adapted, and it's been in and out of talks for years and years about whether they're going to do it, is Gears of War.
Oh,
Have you ever?
I think they've announced a Gears of War movie 1,000 different times
Yeah, like
throughout the
every couple
years.
years, it's like, oh, Dave Bautista's now going to be playing in Gears of War or something like that.
It sounds perfect.
Have you ever
I've
seen?
never played any of the Gears of War because I've never had an Xbox, and so that franchise escapes me.
Yeah,
But
in
I've
its earlier
always
days, like Gears of War 1, 2, 3, epic, so good. Like
that
as a game, as
trailer
a story, yeah.
that trailer with the Mad World soundtrack. Sorry, it's just this is everything that I'm gonna be able to say about this. But like that trailer where
Amazing.
they're running away from aliens and it's the Mad World song. I think I saw that trailer like 100 times, and it was so good that I was kinda almost gonna beg my parents to buy me an Xbox, even though I knew they would never do that because I already had a PlayStation. So they were not the kind of parents that they would do that. But
And you're
like,
like, but mum, look at this trailer.
it looked fucking amazing. So
Hey,
yeah.
well, I can't believe she watched that trailer and she didn't buy a new fucking console for you.
I mean, what are your values, mom?
Because yeah, that trailer was amazing. It was like the big announcement for next gen on the 360. Was that Gears of War 1 trailer, and it was epic, and the game lived up to that trailer for sure. Alien invasion, and we're fighting off, and all hope seems lost as they call them locusts, these like alien enemies who are coming to take over the world. And we have lots of
Yeah, they're kind
cool.
of like Starship Troopers, like bug aliens kind of thing, right?
Yeah, but then there's the main crux of the enemies are humanoid. They look more like orcs.
Oh,
To
interesting.
be honest, yeah. And then they have so many cool weapons they bring in. I remember just this first sequence in the first game is when you encounter a berserker for the first time, which is this massive, massive monster who's got like no eyes, and he just runs into the direction of when he hears the sound. And you get given this weapon called the Hammer of Dawn, which is basically like a laser. It's basically just a gun which aims a laser at something, and then the satellite above you drops down this massive bomb. And it was one of the coolest moments in a game when you finally take out this monster with this Hammer of Dawn weapon. Really cool, and yeah, I mean it's all laid out there for you. You got, I think there's like 5 or 6 games now, and they're all very story heavy. So you could quite easily adapt.
And that's why they're gonna fuck it up.
Yeah, exactly, because they want to do their own thing. But they could quite easily adapt 1 or 2 into a
We don't
great.
want to be shackled to the source material, we want to do our own thing. Then make your own fucking Gears of
Yeah,
War.
yeah, yeah.
Fucking
Try
hell.
and make something as good as Gears of War, then you fuck. But this, yeah, I think the problems here is budgetary. To make a Gears of War show good and faithful, you would need a hell of a lot of money.
This brings me to another one that I wanted to briefly mention, which is they wanted to do a Horizon TV show, Horizon Zero Dawn. The PlayStation game with
God,
the
yeah, how would
the
they do the
dinosaurs.
massive dinosaur things
Yeah,
with that
like,
budget?
and apparently that TV show is been uh, cancelled, but they're gonna do a movie instead, which I think it's way more manageable and it makes much more sense. Even though the story of Horizon is so complicated that I don't know how they're gonna fucking fit it in one movie. But yeah, it's interesting to see how so many of these franchises are going to TV instead of cinema. It's part of generally, people are watching more TV now than movies. They're not going out to the cinema as much, and TV allows for long form storytelling, which most games are.
Yeah,
So it makes more sense.
and also streaming TV shows allows for shows or companies to put out absolute fucking trash and say, "Oh, loads of people watched it. Trust us. We're moving on to the next one." And you never get a gauge of actually how successful these shows are on streaming sometimes.
Yeah, but to do convincing stuff like the Horizon World or the Gears of War word or the God of War word in TV show format is really hard.
Yeah, and I think,
Like,
like we said, God of War, probably even Gears of War as well, they would actually probably be more appropriate for an animated series or an animated movie, just because it's going to be so hard to create that level of
yeah, but
realism.
then you kind of lose that appeal of seeing the character brought to life for real, right? Like if my Kratos is not an actor, then what's the point? I'm just gonna watch the cutscenes from the game that look amazing.
That's true. That's true.
Just get the guy. Just get the guy, that giant dude who plays Reacher. What's his name?
Him to
He
be
was in the.
Kratos?
I don't know. Like, no, maybe he could be one of the God of War guy, Gears of
Yeah,
War
he's more
guys.
suitable for Gears of War. Like Kratos, there's just very few actors around that could play Kratos.
I mean, and the voice should still be Christopher Judge from the
Exactly.
new duology.
That's
So
the problem. Yeah, and I think God of War is another one that's been in talks to be a potential Amazon TV show. I think is what's happening.
oh, oh, come on.
And
They're gonna give it the fucking Rings of Power treatment,
oh
right?
hell yeah! And the person making it
Oh
was like,
my
"Nah, I've
god.
never seen or played God of War. But I'm super excited to be a part of the show." It's like, are you? I think
I
if
mean,
I was given the job to direct the God of War fucking series,
I would play it.
I'd,
Yes.
I'd do a little bit of fucking homework, and I'd expect to have to
Even
play
if they
those
told me
games.
not to, oh, don't play them because they're gonna cloud your judgment. Just go in fresh. I would play them anyway secretly just to make sure. I don't know.
100%, and there's been examples of that, and especially with comic book movies, of the actual, Disney saying to creators, "Oh, don't read the source material. This is your own thing," and it's like, no, I think that's completely wrong way to look at it, and it never
But
garners good results.
it always depends. It goes case by case. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent here, but um, Star Wars, for example, this is something that Star Wars fans have been saying for the longest time. Oh, don't you should give you should give the franchise to people who care, who are fans, who are nerds about all the little details about the story and the lore. And those are like people like Dave Filoni or John Favreau, who have made stuff like The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, that are shows that are just nostalgia fest, just fucking cameo town. Like every other episode, there's a character from the animated TV show or from the larger canon appearing. Oh, is that guy? Do you remember Glorbo Fraklokloplunks? No, I do not. And even if I did, I would not care. And like sometimes when you do the thing that you think the fans want, you're actually doing a disservice to the story that you could tell.
Yeah, that's
Because
why
then
Neil Druckmann killed Joel.
there you go. But like in Star Wars, like the best thing to come out of Star Wars, and I'm sure we're gonna talk about it in the coming weeks because it's wrapping up its second season, its second and unfortunately final season. It's Andor. And Andor is amazing. It's so well done. It's so well crafted. It's amazing storytelling, great dialogue. It's incredible. And it's Star Wars made by Tony Gilroy, who fucking doesn't care at all about Star Wars. But he has people there with him that are like, okay, you craft the story as you want, and we are going to help you fill in the gaps with the lore and kind of like adapt the story to what you actually can do within the confinement of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
And they've done this incredibly. It's so like it's jaw dropping how good this show is. And yeah, and I keep saying this because so many people are skipping under because Disney Star Wars is such a mess, and it is. I've hated most of it, but Andor is fucking great, and it's done by someone who's not a fan of Star Wars, who just understands storytelling and understands what needs to happen for people to be happy and engaged in a story.
yeah.
So
I think if you've if you got a super talented filmmaker, director, or whatever, writers, the quality should always shine through no matter what. And with something like Star Wars, where you have kind of exhausted your main timeline options, you're now getting all these little spin-offs and smaller stories just set within the world that aren't touching upon the main continuation of like the original story or whatever. Then I think it's fine to branch out and be like, oh, I'll get this really good action director to come in and do like a John Wick style Star Wars story or whatever.
yeah,
I think that's absolutely fine. I think when you're doing your first God of War series, and this is season 1, the first adaptation of God of War, and the guys, whoever it is saying they have no affiliation or play the games or don't know anything about the games. That doesn't bode.
that's worrying.
That
Yes.
doesn't bode well for me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But I suppose we'll crack into our top 3 now. We've covered a few decent ones already, but this is the cream of the crop right here.
Well, I mean, there's very few ones to pick from.
No, this is your top 3 movies of all time. This is you said this is better than The Godfather Part 2, so
some of it are.
we do
This is
your number 3, then my number 3, and your number 2, then my
I
number
mean,
2.
I think you shared your top 3 with me yesterday, but I didn't share mine because I was still thinking about it.
You
So
little
it's
tease, aren't you? You little tease.
I'm a little tease. But I know your third one, and that's why I put in third place Street Fighter. I mean, it's one of those movies that doesn't really need to be explained. It's Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I watched the VHS at a friend's house, and my life was forever changed. It's like 90s action cheese. It's a guilty pleasure. It's a bad movie, whatever you want to say. But there's Raul Julia, who plays the main villain, Bison, who was a motherfucker in the game. Was always kicking my ass when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to even fucking. I was bad at games. I'm still bad at games. That didn't change. But he Raul Julia of Adam's Family fucking fame plays this villain so perfectly. It's so much fun. Is so over the top, and I think this was his last role before his untimely death, unfortunately. So it's like this great legacy, and I think he did the role because his kids told him to, because it was like, oh, this is gonna be this is a great movie.
Yeah, I've seen that little interview where he's saying that. Yeah.
And it's a cute little film in compared to how they would do a Street Fighter movie now. It's so quaint and so like it's not even a 90s movie, it's an 80s movie. It's like it's so just yeah. And the fights are fun. It's a very tongue-in-cheek. I think it knows it's silly, and it plays with it a lot. So yeah, it's a great little movie.
Yeah, and clearly some iconic performances here, because I feel like there's pictures and memes of that film that have lived on ever since. So yeah, definitely something I'll have to check out. Then I'm sure I would quite
For
enjoy it.
for you, the day M. Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. For me, it was Tuesday. That's an actual line. That's a cold ass line from M. Bison,
That's a good line.
who devastated Chun-Li's village and killed her parents. And she wants revenge, and he's like, "Oh, I don't even remember who you are." Kind of like a Thanos situation here, but even cooler.
Okay. Yeah, good solid choice. I suppose, yeah, my third choice is in a very similar vein. I know this film is not very good. If it's standing on its own merits, it's pretty shocking actually. But Mortal Kombat, the 1995 original movie.
All right.
Um,
I knew it.
yeah, I think a lot of this just comes from I love Mortal Kombat as not even necessarily the games, because that style of fighting game I used to like them, but it's not something I've ever been like really hooked on, and I find that they can get quite boring
Yeah,
after
no,
a little bit of playing.
it's
But
can be repetitive.
me and my little brother, we always tuned in for like the next Mortal Kombat game, because I love playing the campaign, and like where each game kind of extends some more on the lore and the characters, add new characters in. I think Ed Boon, the guy that makes it, he's come up with such a rich world of really cool, interesting characters with interesting powers and abilities. It's a really hard one to try and adapt into a film or TV show.
A movie, yeah.
Because of the concept.
Because of the tournament.
Exactly, the concept is so final. It's like we go to this place, this character fights this character, and they die, and which is why maybe the most recent movie tried to do something a bit different with it, and I don't think was very successful in doing so.
I thought the new Mortal Kombat had some cool moments in it.
Cool moments.
It wasn't a bad.
Cool moments of action, but the characters, like the new main character, is one of the worst.
Man, that was a nothing guy.
One of the worst protagonists I've seen in anything. Yeah. He literally, like at the end of the film, he's like, his big rallying speech is like, we must stick together. We must fight together. Together we will be stronger. Together we will beat them. It's like, oh, fucking hell, man. Where'd they find this guy?
Well, to be fair to the new Mortal Kombat movie, in the Street Fighter film, the rousing speech that Jean-Claude Van Damme gives before the big fight at the end is like, would you rather go home or come with me? It's like something like that. So I don't know if, maybe they don't know how to do it.
Maybe if the newer version of Mortal Kombat had come out back in 1995 and I saw it when I was younger, I would have the same level of affinity for it. But no,
maybe they're not good at public speaking, man. Like just give him a break.
And yeah, this it's got some awful moments of CGI and visual effects in this film. There's I think there's a bit where Scorpion does his classic come over here and he shoots out. They decide to like do visual effects of the kind of spear that comes out of his wrist, and it's one of the worst looking things I've ever seen.
You're talking about the old one now.
This is the old one. Yeah. The new one looks fucking fantastic. All the fatalities and stuff are great in it. If you could just take,
they should remake the story and everything about the 1995 one with the graphics of the new one.
That would have been a better movie. It would have been a better movie.
Yeah.
And cause obviously you're focusing, which apparently the new Mortal Kombat film is bringing back Karl Urban. He's going to be Johnny Cage, and he's going to be the lead in Mortal Kombat 2, which should be good. It's how they should have done it in the first place, because Johnny Cage is your good entry point into this mad world as a fish out of water,
an actor.
Yeah, and it's there's just so many great characters, and the campaigns of Mortal Kombat have always been really interesting. And I think that's probably why I hold this film in such high regard. Also, incredible soundtrack, one of the best. One of the best themes ever made for a game. I absolutely love it. And if you watch this original one back, Goro still looks amazing. The practical effects on Goro, like the big monster with four arms,
the big guy with
genuinely still looks awesome to this day. That the scene where him and Johnny Cage fight,
two great movies back to back. What other big fighting franchises they could make a movie out of? I guess Soul Calibur. No.
What's that? What's the one with all this like super hyper sexualized Dead or Alive?
Dead or Alive,
the Japanese one.
Dead or Alive
There you go.
is not.
Sydney, take Sydney Sweeney and Anna de Armas from Eden and put them in the Dead or Alive remake.
Yeah, but I want them to do a movie about the volleyball spin-off that they did about Dead or Alive, where you actually just play volleyball on a beach with like all the female characters, I should say, from Dead or Alive in skimpy outfits, and it was amazing and glorious. My cousin had that game, and I went to her house all the time just to be like, "Oh, can I play your Xbox for a little while?" And I would play Dead or Alive, the volleyball game.
Great game, a masterpiece for its time. Yeah, I think when it comes to fighting games, for me anyway, because Mortal Kombat's always been my favorite. I think there's so much potential and they've made loads of animated Mortal Kombat films over the years. That some of them have been really good, some of them have been pretty bad. Yeah, I feel like there's always like somebody could really hit that nail on the head and make an incredible Mortal Kombat film or series that could do really well. Did you ever watch? They did. It was like a short on YouTube. It's like a 15-minute short, and it was a proof of concept to try and make a Mortal Kombat film.
I think I did. Yeah, it was talked about a lot when it came out because it was so well done.
So well,
they did Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
It's brilliantly made, and it's like it's a realistic take on Mortal Kombat. It's like, what if like Baraka is just Baraka's
I do remember.
a real guy who's like inserted surgically put like knives in his arms,
blades,
and there's no supernatural abilities necessarily, and it was it seemed like it could have been something really interesting, and I know they made a YouTube series from that short that wasn't ever that good, but like a film in that tone, like with a decent budget, a good cast, could be fucking really awesome, I think.
Wouldn't you want them to keep the more fantastical aspect if they do an adaptation, though?
100%. But they are so unable to somehow work that into the story. Like in the new one, they discover powers called chi.
Yeah.
And they each, and like Kano, who's the Australian guy with the laser eye, he develops a robotic eye with his chi, and fucking and Jax, who has the big metal arms, right? He has little baby like dinosaur metal arms because he gets his arms taken off by Sub-Zero, and then when he discovers his chi and he needs to lift this rock, and his little baby metal arms can't do it, they turn into big like cyborg arms, and it's like, what is going on?
How does that work?
So the chi, the magic, creates technology too. It's like, yeah, they did it terribly in that film.
In my word, they are one and the same. Like Thor said back in the day. Magic and technology are the same thing.
Which is the only reason why I think a more realistic take could be done in a more achievable manner and could make a better film. But I would like to see
and as a TV show, it would definitely be more budget friendly, I guess.
Yeah.
Cost effective to do it like that. So
yeah, definitely. I suppose eventually I'd have the same problems with it. I'd be like, well, what's the point in having Shang-Chi if he's got no powers? Or not Shang-Chi, Shang Tsung.
I was like, what is Shang-Chi doing here? Wasn't he supposed to be in Avengers? That's why they haven't shown him again, because he's off doing fucking Mortal Kombat.
He's the new villain in Mortal Kombat.
I think we can briefly do our number 2 because it's going to be the same. And it's going to be The Last of Us Season 1. I picked The Last of Us because we've already discussed about what we like about the show. So we won't go into. We'll link the old video somewhere here so that people can go check it out. But it's a great show. It's one of those rare cases where they took the source material. Neil Druckmann was involved in the production of the show. Not that that's necessarily a good thing, but he was one of the creative voices for the first game. So to have him kind of like there together with Craig Mazin, they brought the gaming elements that they wanted to recreate and a story that makes sense for an episodic TV show format, and they brought them together, and I think they did a fantastic job. Still a few blemishes. We've mentioned them. Lack of infected in a lot of episodes, rushed storylines, but the core relationship between Joel and Ellie, Pedro Pascal's performance, especially, and just generally the world that they've managed to create for the screen, I thought was fantastically done. And yeah, unfortunately, this second season, like the second game, does not hold up to that level of quality.
Is the adaptation of season 1 better than if you were to compile the cutscenes together of the game? Do you think it's better, or it's still the game is superior still?
That's the beauty of it, I think, that I cannot answer that question because I prefer the game. And
Yeah.
my subjective opinion is that the game is better. But these two products uh, have value of their own.
Oh,
The
definitely.
Last of Us show decides not to just focus on Joel and Ellie, which is the main focus of the game, because you are playing as Joel and you're traveling through the country with Ellie, and you run into other characters, yes, but you are a spectator to their stories. While here, with the TV show format, you manage to move perspective and show more of the world around these two characters, and they flesh them out. Some stories are well realized, some are not as good. But the idea of expanding the world around these two characters, I thought was really successful and makes the show shine in its own right, even though I do still prefer the game.
Yeah, I think the game for me is still superior in storytelling, but this was a great adaptation. Does everything you want with an adaptation. You want it to touch on the best key moments, almost shot for shot, because why change something if it's that good? But then fleshes out areas that the game couldn't flesh out. And we get that in certain areas and make little changes here and there, but overall, yeah, I really enjoyed The Last of Us season 1, and it's yeah, I think fair to put it on this list as one of the best video game adaptations. If we're just looking at season 1, that is.
Yeah. Season one was one story before they decided to continue it.
Exactly.
So, you should judge it on its own merits. And it's amazing. Okay, my top choice for best video game adaptation of all time is Arcane.
I assumed this would probably feature in my list as well if I had seen it. I've also never played Arcane, but I have heard the first season of the Netflix show is really really strong.
I don't know how much this counts, honestly. I don't know how much it can be considered an adaptation, since, from my understanding, it bears little to no resemblance to the game itself. It's a MOBA, I think they're called. It's like top down perspective. You have one character and you go around the map. You need to collect like flags, like classic, take the flag or like beat the enemy, and you have your character that you choose from, like you choose from a roster of 1,000 characters. I've never played League of Legends. I don't care about League of Legends. I don't care about this type of games. And everyone I know who does has told me, don't get into it because it's basically fucking drugs and you won't be able to stop and you will play all the time. So I'm not gonna do that to myself. Even though, I liked Arcane season one so much that I kind of wanted to get into the games too, but it's kind of like a kind of game that doesn't really appeal to me. I prefer story driven, first person, third person, you know, action adventure RPG games. So it's not my thing. But this show was my thing. This show is enough because season 1 of Arcane to me is absolute peak fiction. It's incredible. It's so surprising. Characters, like you are in this world of Zon, the city of Zon, which is part of this larger world that we are learning more about with each season. And the lore of it, it's so rich, and all these characters are so unique, and like the look of the world, like the animation. I mean, everyone has been talking about the animation of the show. It's insane. They took 3 years to make a season 2 because I think it takes a week to just render one fucking frame of this thing. It's it's incredible how this show looks and how much attention went into every little detail. And the storyline is really engaging in the first season. You have this relationship between these two sisters, and you kind of like see them grow, and until this very traumatic event kind of like splits them apart. And as well, there's this split, just as there's this split between these two sisters, there's this split between these two different parts of the city of Zon, built over, and like the underground kind of like, let's call it, of the city. That it's like the poor and the rich, the powerful and the powerless, and all these games of power within the factions, the police, payroll of these criminal overlords. It's a really rich and interesting world with like monsters and like different species. It's not just humans, there's also these like weird little creatures. And there's this concept of magic and how these characters are developing this magic to kind of like serve as technology. So like magic and technology, this is a theme today, I guess. I don't know, I don't want to go too much into the storyline because I guess everyone knows that this show is good. And I didn't know anything about it. People who play the game knew kind of like what to expect from certain characters. I did not, and I was so pleasantly surprised by like specific developments in the story. So I won't go into that. One issue that I have with the show is that a lot is crammed into a pretty tight space. Would have loved a longer season, more seasons. But I guess with, animation of that quality, they had to make some very hard cuts and decisions. And the second season, unfortunately, suffers from this the most. It's not nearly as polished as season one. And I feel like first season was setting up stuff that wasn't really the focus of season two. Like they changed course all of a sudden. They're like, oh, we're going to explore all these other things at the periphery of the story of season one. So it loses a lot of that focus that made season one so good. And it becomes a little bit more messy, even though, again, even if it's confusing, even if it's, maybe you need to rewatch it a couple of times, the animation is just so gorgeous. It's so inspired. Every shot, like the music, and like so many moments are basically music videos. It's incredible. It's a one of a kind. You don't get this level of quality from animation anywhere else on TV, in my opinion. It's at the levels of Spider-Verse for how good it looks. And even if season two is a mess from a story perspective because it tries to tackle so much in so little time, it's still very interesting, and I would recommend watching it.
How long are the episodes each?
It's like an hour long, like
Oh, really?
45 to an
Okay.
hour
Yeah,
long
yeah.
every episode, and each season is like 8 to 10 episodes. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been on my watch list for a little while. I've heard people gushing about first season, and I think when you're looking around at what people, like Reddit forums or whatever, when people are saying what are their favorite video game adaptations, this is now appearing on pretty much everybody's list who seems to have seen it.
Nice. Well, I know your next one was going to be your first pick. So go ahead.
would this have been in your picks if it hadn't have been in mine?
I guess so, yeah. But kind of like, I guess you sending me your list kind of like influenced me into making a list that kind of like talked to yours, was in conversation with yours.
Yeah, yeah,
So that,
yeah.
so yeah. I'm glad that this one was on your list. So we can talk about it.
Yeah, I know you thoroughly enjoyed it too. It's Cyberpunk Edge Runners. It came out in 2022. Just dropped on Netflix. It was kind of, I think it came out somewhat in a similar time as the DLC, maybe, to Cyberpunk.
Shortly before, maybe? I'm not sure.
This is a perfect example of how you would do an adaptation of a game that's not entirely linear. There is a story going on
Yeah.
in Cyberpunk, but there's so much free roaming and little things you can do, and you can choose your own path or whatever. So this just takes a little slice of that and the themes and everything, and just gives us a different character and gives you their unique story, but within the world that we know of Cyberpunk, featuring little elements of lore or characters we've referenced in the games. It's just perfect, and if you don't need any prior knowledge of the games to enjoy the show, it's a really good standalone story in itself. Expertly animated. Like the opening sequence is so cool when we see the cyber psycho guy being taken down by the SWAT team. Um,
Yeah.
the action's just amazing. And there's obviously they use this implant which slows down time, and all those sequences were super colorful and really good. So you get these like pausing in time moments and this mass violence, but very beautifully
Yeah, it's
depicted on screen.
Studio Trigger is the one who did the animation. They are super talented Japanese studio. They did a bunch of series and cool movies. So yeah, amazing action here. Very kinetic, very kinetic and like hyper violent action.
Yeah,
Super fun.
yeah, yeah. The movement of everything's really great, and it captures that dark and somber tone that cyberpunk is just like riddled with. It's it's not afraid to like end on an incredibly solemn and sad note. Not I don't spoil the ending
Oh
of.
my god, what a gut punch! Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's how it should end. And if it ended any other way, then it would have been disingenuous to the story, because of what happens with the main character. It's the journey on the way and the people you meet along the way that really make the world exciting in cyberpunk. And it's the same for this show, and it's the same for the game. Um, I would say maybe the protagonist is not the most interesting character in Edge Runners,
No,
even though
David.
David's very good. I feel like this side characters sort of steal the show more than he does, and that's the same for the game. All the side characters you meet in the game are more interesting than your point of view character. And we did a bit of a deep dive into Cyberpunk on our last episode, and we were talking about how the cyber psycho element is a real cool addition to the lore, and there's repercussions for adding all these cyber enhancements to your body. You start to go crazy, you can't handle it, and you start to lose your mind and you become violent. And it's something that the game teased at doing, but didn't really fulfill on its promise of delving into that dichotomy and that problem that could come up with enhancing your body like that. Whereas the whole crux of this story is, should you add all these cyber enhancements to your body, you're going to become stronger, faster, etc. But at the end of the line, it's a short road, and this will lead to your downfall no matter what. So is it worth it to become a Night City legend, which is obviously what a big part of it's like achieving the Hollywood dream in Night City is just becoming a legend.
Yeah.
And it's great. I thought this was awesome. So many great characters in this.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a great show. I watched it, as I told you, in our Cyberpunk review. I watched it before experiencing the game, so I'm really curious to go back with the added context of what the game is, and like how, because I went to see, I found this video. I'm gonna send it to you if I find it again. Where they kind of like comparing shots from the show to like screenshots from the game,
Oh,
like
cool.
like explorable areas in the game, and you can really tell that the creators like Studio Trigger went and like visited the map of Night City and found cool spots and took screenshots, and then they based the drawings for the show on that, because like the geography is almost perfectly replicated from the game. So like the story is original, the characters are original, but the real kind of like character here is Night City
Yes.
itself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they need to nail that, and it makes sense for CD Projekt Red for them to want for the city to be shown in all its glory and all its beauty, so that when people maybe go from watching it runners to buying the game, they find that same vibe and that same
Exactly.
colorful and horrible place. of Night
And
City.
we were saying those attention to details when you know the source material really well, it plays great with the fans. And like I said,
Absolutely.
many people dived back into the game to go and, oh, maybe I'll go find this area, or there might be a reference to this character in this moment, and I want to replay that again to see that. It's those details bring people back for sure.
Absolutely. Going back to what you were saying about the story, I personally think that the story is fine. I like the story, I like the characters, but I have a problem with it that it's a similar problem that I had with the Arcane show, and it feels a bit rushed. Like, I was so surprised when I realized it was just 10 episodes, because when I got into it, I didn't know. I was just expecting a regular kind of like 20 episode anime, TV show season. And then it was just 10 episodes, and it was one of those, it was not just 10 episodes, it was a one and done kind of thing, like it's a long movie
Yeah,
basically. And I was getting really into it, and then plot point after plot point started to hit, characters dying, and I was like, wait a second, what's going on? Like, this is getting too fast, too quick. Which, it makes sense for the story they're telling. This character, is enhancing himself to a degree that kind of like, puts, kind of like in the game, puts a little bit of a ticking time bomb into the story. But yeah, I felt like they could have fleshed out the story a little bit more, and I guess this was just like with Arcane, budget constraint.
yeah,
Like, they didn't have enough money for that level of animation to be sustained over like a longer season or a longer
yeah,
project, and I
yeah,
didn't know if they would be as successful, so they crammed all this cool story that they had in a smaller package, I guess. And it's fine, and I really enjoyed it, but I wished it was a little bit more than that.
yeah. It
But
gives
yeah,
it.
really good.
It leaves you wanting a lot more, and it leaves you wanting a part two to the series or whatever, and maybe that never happens. But as we said in our review of Cyberpunk, such a cool immersive world. You could do so many of these Edge Runner type shows set in Cyberpunk. Little vignette stories of crazy things which are happening to the criminal group or whoever. And it would be so interesting. I think hopefully we do see more. And I think Edge Runners was pretty successful for Netflix. So hopefully we do see some more. But to be honest, it's crazy. It's crazy that that's my number one, because I think it's really good. But like you said, yeah, story wise, it does seem a bit rushed. They're not necessarily breaking any new ground here. I might give Edge Runners like an 8 out of 10. Um,
Yeah, it's a
overall,
testament to how how poor the output for
it's
video game adaptation has
it's
been so
it's
far.
crazy. It's crazy that that's potentially the best, and yeah, the best ones have come out in the last few years. But
I mean, the best one, even though it's not like a real video game movie because it's not a video game adaptation per se, but Scott Pilgrim versus the World is a fantastic movie.
yeah, is that
So
not a comic
maybe
book adaptation?
it's a graphic novel, and then they made a game, I think, and then they made the movie. So I guess it kind of counts
Yeah. Okay.
because there's a lot of gaming lingo and like iconography
Yeah.
used in the
I
film.
mean, if
But
that if
yeah.
that was to count, then yeah, that blows kind of any of these out the water. To be honest, Scott Pilgrim versus the World or Street Fighter.
Oh, come on. Well, one is an Edgar Wright masterpiece, just of like fucking direction and fun ideas of editing, and just Michael Cera at his
Oh,
very best.
it's peak cinema, and like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we're sort of grading up on a scale when they're video game adaptations slightly, because the rest are so poor. To say that these three are the best, yeah, they wouldn't reach the top three of a different non-video game adaptation list. I doubt of any of our
Well,
stuff.
I think Arcane could be like one of the best animated things I've ever seen,
Okay,
even divorced from the kind of like video game aspect of it, because it's not really like I don't base it on how faithful it is to the source material, because I don't know the source material. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was our top 3, and we did a few other mentions for you there. Let us know. Yeah, let us know in the comments what are your top 3 favorite video game adaptations to films or TV series, or what are some of your worst ones. Yeah, make sure to join in the conversation with us.
Yeah, and let's rewatch, all of us. Let's just rewatch Street Fighter tonight, just for fun, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Raul Julia, amazing movie. Let's watch it.
I gotta watch the fucking
welcome.
old Super Mario film first.
Oh, come. That's probably a good time. Like, you could do great movies of the 90s. You can start with Howard the Duck, then do Mario movie, and then either Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. And you have the great masterpieces of our time.